Today, we're going to dive into the really challenging and actually surprisingly hopeful story of dyslexia. It's a journey that starts in what looks like a crisis, but it ends with this powerful new way of understanding the human brain.
So we have to start with the tough stuff, because the stakes here are incredibly high. A full 50%, yeah, that's half, of all young people in the juvenile justice system are dyslexic. I mean, just let that sink in. It's a staggering statistic that shows you how feeling like a failure in the classroom can lead someone down a very, very dark path.
And the cost to their education is just as devastating. 32% of students with learning disabilities drop out of high school. That's nearly 1 out of every 3. Our traditional school system, the one built around a very specific way of learning, is failing them. It's slamming the door shut on their future opportunities. This is a full-blown crisis.
But this is where the story takes a really fascinating and hopeful turn. What if, instead of focusing only on the challenges, we've been fundamentally misunderstanding what dyslexia even is? What if we could just flip the script entirely?
And this brings us to this big, game-changing idea: neurodiversity. It's a revolutionary concept that completely reframes conditions like dyslexia. The idea is, it's not a defect, it's not a disorder. It's simply a natural variation in how a brain is wired, a different way of thinking, not a broken one. And this moves us from a model of deficits to a model based on strengths.
You can really see this shift just in the words we use, because words matter, right? We're moving away from those old, heavy words like disability and disorder, and we're starting to embrace a new perspective: learning difference, advantage, different thinking. And this isn't just about semantics, it's a revolution in how we see the dyslexic mind.
Because here's the wild part. It turns out that the exact same brain wiring that makes reading so tough can also lead to some pretty extraordinary strengths in other areas. This is what researchers and advocates are now calling the Dyslexic Advantage.
And this is where we get to flip those negative statistics right on their head. Think about this paradox. While 32% of students with learning disabilities drop out, an incredible 35% of entrepreneurs identify as dyslexic. And get this, 40% of self-made millionaires are dyslexic. The resilience and out-of-the-box problem-solving they're forced to develop are the exact traits that can lead to massive success later on.
You want a real-world example? At MIT, one of the top engineering schools on the planet, they have a nickname for dyslexia. They call it the MIT disease. Why? Because a huge number of their genius students, the ones who excel at 3D visualization and complex problem solving, are dyslexic. Seeing the world differently isn't their weakness, it's their superpower. And there's hard science to back this up. Researchers at Haskins Laboratories found that people with dyslexia were measurably faster at a complex visual spatial task. Their fMRI scans suggested a sort of neural trade-off. Their brains were more expert-like at processing figures, while non-dyslexic brains were more specialized for print. This supports the idea of cerebrodiversity, that a weakness in one area can actually be a strength in another.
Okay, so if we know this, what do we do about it? How do we actually empower these students? It requires a completely new educational toolkit. We need to stop trying to just fix the weakness and start building up the strengths. And it's really a two-part strategy.
The first part is all about building a bridge. We absolutely still need to address the reading challenge, but we need to do it in a way that's effective and builds confidence, instead of tearing it down. It's not about forcing students through a system that just doesn't work for them.
This is where proven, evidence-based tools come in, like the Wilson Reading System. And it's so important to understand, this isn't a crutch, it's a bridge. It uses a structured, multi-sensory approach to give students direct access to decoding language, helping them cross the gap that traditional methods often create.
So the reason this system works is because it's built on these core principles. First, it's systematic and cumulative, so it builds skills logically. The instruction is explicit, so nothing is left to guesswork. It's multisensory, engaging sight, sound, and touch all at once. And finally, it's mastery-based, which means students build a really solid foundation before moving on.
Okay, now for the second and equally crucial part of the strategy, launching the rocket. This is where we stop focusing on fixing things and start teaching directly to the unique, powerful strengths of the dyslexic mind.
So what does that look like in the classroom? Well, instead of just essays and worksheets, we lean into hands-on STEM projects, project-based learning, and visual gamification. We give them real-world problems to solve, because that's where their creative, big-picture thinking really comes alive. So why do these methods work so well? It's pretty simple, actually. They align perfectly with the Dyslexic Advantage.
They move learning beyond the limits of text-heavy instruction and into the real world of building, creating, and problem-solving. And the benefits are crystal clear. These approaches emphasize visual and hands-on learning, which develops their natural talents for reasoning. But maybe most importantly, they build confidence through tangible achievements. When you successfully build something, you know you're smart, no matter what a reading test might say.
Another incredibly powerful tool is gamification. This means taking the principles from video games and applying them to learning. It literally transforms the entire educational experience from a chore into an adventure, which just clicks with so many students.
Here's how it works. You reframe learning as a quest. You reward progress with levels and achievements, building that awesome sense of accomplishment. You use collaborative challenges to build teamwork, and this is key. You treat mistakes not as failures, but as a chance to learn and try again, just like in a game. This reduces anxiety and builds incredible resilience.
The impact of this approach goes so far beyond academics. As one parent put it, this is about self-worth. It's about a kid being proud of how their unique brain works, and that's the real win.
Ultimately, it all comes down to a fundamental shift in mindset for parents, for educators, for everyone. As one educator realized, when you go from seeing a disability to seeing a gift, from seeing a problem to seeing a strength, a shift like that changes absolutely everything for a child. So I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. What if a student's greatest challenge is actually the source of their greatest strength? What could happen if we stopped trying to fix them and instead focused all our energy on unleashing that unique power?